Hello, happy Father's Day. Welcome into the Player Book channel. Sorry, my name is Matt Lasker. Wanted to say hello. Today we are going to get into the intro to Wing Raid. A lot of you guys out there have been talking on the Facebook channel and our other social channels about Wing Raid. So we wanted to start introducing that to you guys today. I have a special guest, and I wanted to announce that we're going to start doing a weekly show, our kind of ramp to camp, as everyone's kind of a month out from actually kicking things off. And we're going to get started here in just a second. So thanks for joining and stick around. All right. So thank you guys again for joining. Excited to talk Wing Raid and kind of get going with our season here. It's finally summertime and we're gonna get things kicked off. And I know a lot of you guys are coming out of spring ball, ready to go, and your minds are at full coach capacity right now, trying to get ready for the season. But before we do that, I do want to welcome in a special guest of mine and someone that I've been talking to quite a bit lately, gentleman by the name of Mark Hayford. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. I was just thinking, no one really is ever truly in the off season, and everybody I'm talking to right now is just, I'm preparing for camp. I'm preparing for camp, and then it's the next day, like we're having camp. Well, I'll talk to you after the next camp.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
honestly, I almost only get a little bit of time to watch clinics on what things are going on, and I'm not full time coaching, so it is
Yeah,
one of those things that's fun, but there's no off season, so.
absolutely. Yeah, I know, and a lot of the coaches that we talk to in our two worlds, and we'll talk about that a little bit. They really nerd out on football year round, and they're always looking for new things to implement or new tools to play with or coach with, I should say. And so that's why I wanted to bring Mark on today because he runs a company called Strong Side. And if you haven't seen it, which a lot of you guys probably have in our Facebook channels, but it's a really amazing tool. And to me, it's the most complete playbook that I've seen out there. I've used Huddle and I've used Just Play for the different things that they offer coaches. And I've coached at the middle school and the high school level. And I always kind of feel like I'm going and trying to piece things together in all these different apps when I'm coaching. But Strong Side, when I saw Mark posting some of his content on Facebook and went and actually dove into it, it actually has the most complete, what I can tell, coaching app that I've found. And I'm going to show you in a minute after Mark and I have a quick conversation of what I love about it and actually do a demo for you. But Mark, why don't you kind of introduce yourself on this? You said you were coaching in the
Yeah,
past,
I
or
kind of skipped over coaching. Let's see. So my background in coaching, I've coached about 10 years for high schools that are in my area. Nothing really insanely special. I joke with a lot of our coaches that I do my best coaching behind a computer. Um, and that's somewhat true. When this all started, it was a little bit before COVID. And then also I had been switching from more of an offensive line coach role to a offensive coordinator, looking at all of the things, which, it wasn't like brand new to me, but there were parts of it where I was like, this is not what I'm used to seeing. So many playbooks are built around the idea of, okay, we just need to draw this thing and we're going to expand the area. We're going to change the scale of what it looks like in the box area. And then, that forces everything out of perspective, essentially. So when I was starting to learn all these things, I was like, I can't teach these, I can't coach a player about space when I'm looking at space completely wrong, which is, space is a huge part of any sport, but especially, in the last 10 to 15 years in football, working with, okay, we're going to open up the field, we're going to look more at these spread offensive styles, and then also, kind of looking more, moving away from a lot of West Coast schemes to air raid, which is, one of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit today and over the course of these conversations. So that's my background, and that's a little bit about how Strong Side got started. And I think you kind of touched on it. There's a lot that goes into it that separates it from how a lot of people would think about their playbook, both in terms of creating it and in working through it, how you organize it, how you use it, from a website or sharing platform perspective. So there you go. I think everything about me to get started.
Love it, man. And yeah, I just love what you said about spacing because I fell into the same thing, trying to teach off 2D diagrams and huddle and just play. It just left a lot to be desired. I had seen a couple years ago that Go Army had their 3D modeling platform, which a lot of people that I've talked to about your platform, they say, "Oh, is that similar?" And we'll talk about the similarities. But
Mhm.
while you guys do have similar, I like the way you have set yours up and added 10 times more things than just what they have is just the 3D modeling. But anyway, like you said, it's all about organization. And to me, your app or the platform really is like how my brain works as a coach. I want to
Right.
kind of put everything in one place, all my concepts, all my plays together within those concepts, and have it there in a 3D modeling uh, perspective, and then add. And we're going to show you guys how you can add film to that. So I have all my
Right. Right.
I don't know, like corner. I'm just going to use corner as my example today. All my corner diagrams in there. I could put my 2D diagrams. I could have my
Right.
3D diagrams that you have. I put my cut ups in there.
And
And
I
so
would
it's
add,
all
like,
in one place.
I'll put in diagrams from anywhere, right? Like, the nice thing is we have all this stuff drawn up in Huddle. All right, I don't have to draw it up again. I can just take the pictures. So,
Yeah.
and then along with that, right, like the building out of things was specifically meant to think about it the way a coach would think about it, right? We don't just think about, oh, there's plays in my playbook. We think about, okay, we've got these formations, we've got these concepts or these ideas, just like corner. So yeah, that was all intentional and I think very flexible.
Yeah. And so, between our two platforms, so technically it's built on the same Unity platform. It's just so everyone out there understands,
It
not to
is.
get too technical, but
If
Mark
if
is
you cut out a large portion of me talking, it's because I'm gonna end up talking too much into the technical aspects. People will just be like, "I don't care about that at all." Yes,
yeah,
they
we won't
both
get
use
too
a
deep into that.
similar platform to build. You can think of like an application platform. Like all of this is built on iOS rather than Android, but in a different sense from a computing programmer perspective.
Exactly. And so, I'd even throw I keep forgetting their name, Go Army
Yeah,
in our world because we are what we see as a way to have interactive playbooks, 3D
right.
modeling versus the 2D diagram. And I am convinced, Mark, that the future is not only in 3D modeling like you have and what I have, but also at some point, when the world is ready, the VR and AR will come about. I think we're still a couple years away from mass adoption of that, and I think we're in a
Mhm.
good position to
Yeah,
kind of be where we are with mobile phones and desktops and the tablets to be able to ramp to that with everybody here. But again, we're still years away from that, and so I just like that's why we've been talking for the last month
yeah.
or so
I don't have anything
because we
bad
kind
to
of
say
see it.
about Go Army Edge. I mean, from the
No,
standpoint, it's built on a similar, like the same platform. It's built on what we mentioned with Unity. There's just some decisions where, I wasn't using that, and then it was mostly like, nah, I wanted to be like this. So, and
exactly.
then going into your application, it's like, oh, I would have built it probably like this. It's just someone else did the Unity development. That's about it. So, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
exactly.
I think you wanted to jump into those playbook items.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why I just kind of want to introduce this idea of the future of playbooks, and we're kind of both sitting there, and hopefully we can partner on some stuff at some point too. So let me share my screen, and I'm going to pop into. There's two ways to look at this, right? So there's the web application, and I don't know if that's the right terminology, but your
Yeah.
website where coaches log
Website
in.
is pretty much easy way to say it.
Okay, and so I'm logging into mine. So Mark has I have a subscription to Mark's platform, Strong Side, and you guys can find it online. Is it strongside.com or I can't
App
remember.
dot app.
Okay, strongside.app.
Yep.
So you guys could check it out there. And so as you log in, and I literally just went through and made my playbooks for the season. Okay, and you guys know I'm air raid, so you'll see a lot of that. And so you can see just from logging in real quick, it's a nice overview of all the things that I've put in recently. I've been working on corner a lot, as you guys know. I love that route and those combinations. But I also wanted to kind of set this demo up. But you can just kind of see an overview of the players that I have in here. the coaches that I have in here. I love that. The concepts, the formations. Okay, so that's all nice and good, but and I'll come back to the team management piece because I think that's really cool that you have all these other parts that Go Army Edge doesn't have and that Huddle doesn't have. Again, you have the most complete, what I can tell, on the market. I'll come back to the depth charts. I think that's really amazing. The
Yeah,
team
it really
development.
like it just comes back to like, all right, our team needed this, or I as a coach wanted this, and then, like I said, I'm the weird coach. Okay, this is the way I can help the team the most. Not that I'm stupid
Yeah,
on the field, just like, all right, like go do this. This is a thing that, there's not that many other coaches that can do. So yeah, go into a lot of different stuff, and I mean, I think you've set up your playbook nice in there. I think that's exactly what I would say. Oh yeah, that's how someone should use it. That looks great.
yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm at new too, Mark. I think that's why I stepped away from coaching the last year was to try to launch my app because to me, I'm like, I'm in a unique position working in technology. Now you are actually a developer, which I am not, but I feel like I can help more coaches with the way that they teach and the way that they can help kids learn more than I can help just being on the field and calling plays and stuff. Not that I don't love it, and I'm sure I'll go back soon, but I've been really focused on just trying to help set coaches up for success. And so I want to come back to depth charts. I think that's really cool. But so let's go into real quick. Go into my offense because I really love to show this. And if I click into the formation sets, you're going to see a couple things, and this is really the playbook here from what I've gleaned. And just so everyone knows, Mark and I really haven't set this conversation up. He's let me play around with the tool, and I've really kind of nerded out on it. And so,
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
for
I haven't
me,
really talked you through it at all, so it's fun to see you use it and you know
yeah, and
kind of
I
get
think
to
that's
it
the
on
best
your
way, right?
own.
Is it
Yeah,
intuitive? Do coach will it be easy for coaches? And I'll tell
yeah,
you guys right now, it has been very easy for me to set my playbook up in here. And like I said, I've used all the different tools. And so, for me as an air raid coach, I have I do like a lot of formations, but I have my core formation set. I love how you have the concepts and plays separate
right.
because just like
Yeah,
my brain works, I have my corner concept and all the corner routes from all the formations are in that corner concept. And I have
right.
my bubble and GT and all that, and my four verts from all my different formations. And so here's my concepts. And then as I click in, let's just use corner as a option here. Now I'm in my my corner concept, and everything is in here that's corner related. And I chose my diagram to make it easy for you guys to see. This is where you would see where like the plays are drawn up. Now, I really would probably use this one as
Yeah,
my
so when you
main
make it
one.
your default, that's the one that'll show up in all the menus along with in this picture. So it is pretty nice.
Yep.
And then I think you've seen it. There's just a view icon for when you need to see just that item. As the
Exactly. If you want to pop open something, it's easy enough to just pop it open and see it another angle of it. And so, yes, I can upload like you were saying earlier my huddle stuff. So there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. I use PowerPoint, so this is my PowerPoint. And then I've also uploaded as I was uploading and working on my plays these different video clips of my teams running these concepts. And from this view, I could just pop it open and literally watch my team, or more importantly, my coaches or players can watch my old teams running Y
right.
corner for a first down, right? And so I just think it's so. This is exactly how I would want this as a coach, right? And it's easy
Yeah.
that you can upload whatever you want. Like I said, the content is easy, whether it's a video or a snapshot or a PDF, whatever it is, easy enough to upload. Sorry, my internet is slow today. I don't know what's going on in my neighborhood. Um, but easy enough to do it. Now, let's take it one step further and let's just say, okay, so now I'm in my concepts and I'm telling the kids, okay, we're installing corner, but we're installing it with out of early. Okay, so as you can see, as I scroll down, here's all the plays that are within this concept. So here's all my formations, right? Here it is out of ace. And like you said, you can choose the default
Hmm.
image for the cover of everything. So on this one, I chose it to
Yeah.
be a video.
So the
On this
related
one,
stuff. being down there.
Exactly.
You don't have to go find it too far. One thing I
Perfect.
want to show you real quick that I don't think you've seen, but if you scroll up to the top under your video on this one,
Uh-huh.
um, right there, and then hover one and see the little person icon. You don't need
Oh
to
yeah.
click it, but you could tag a player, and when they open up their system, it would say, "Hey, the coach wants you to take a look at this thing," or on their
Oh
own
yeah.
profile, it would show them as show it onto their like public profile as a
Oh,
play that
that's
they were a
amazing.
part of. So
I I did not know that. That's really
yeah,
sick.
it was one of those things where I was like, "Oh yeah, that's still there." I didn't have to think about that yet, but there you go. So you can tag someone into it, and
Yeah.
then
Let me
just
get mic on. Perfect. I love it. That's even better. Okay, cool. So yeah, so let me just demo early Y corner. So I'm in my concept and I want to break it down to a specific actual play within the concept. And so as you see, I have used the 3D modeling as the cover for this one because I think this is just amazing. Like I, I do like my PowerPoint, but if a if there's a way to visualize it in 3D, why wouldn't I not use this versus a two diagram where it's just like, me with X's and O's and things
right,
like
right.
that, right? And so, like I said, I have all my videos. So all of these are early wide corner. Again, you saw one. I play one earlier. Here is another one, and it's just simple. It works quick, and I'm playing this video of early wide corner. So again, my kids are seeing uh, what it actually looks like on the diagram, what it actually looks like on film of literally my old teams running it, so they know it's even possible or what it looks like. And if you want to, you can even show the old two-dimensional diagrams. And then,
Here's another
like
fun
you,
little pro tip is after it plays through once, it'll play through on slow motion. It just automatically
oh,
goes to
let's do it.
so
Let's do it. Where's the good one I want? Oh, here's my favorite version of this. So I just love this. I do like it when they hit the corner route on this play, but that snag, guys, oh, it's so deadly. And if you guys have been listening to me, I just love the snag. Oh yeah, here's the slow
there
mo.
you go.
I've
There's it.
never let it run like that a
Next
second time.
time,
So
huh?
see how he gets
Mhm.
behind, and this is a great way to teach, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, see how he gets behind the linebacker. The linebacker can't see him. He finds that grass. See, this is
Yeah.
awesome, dude. I
I
love
was
it.
honestly surprised. Like, why do you call this Y corner versus just calling it like snag or sometimes I
Yeah.
hear what spot or knife kind of comes up.
Yeah, no, I
I don't
actually
focus
the
on the Y
pros the
corner in this
pros
play. I'm like, yeah, hit the little snag part.
Yeah, no, the pros actually call it spot, and you're right. I only honestly, to be honest, the guy that I learned air raid from, Ron Mackey, just watching videos, he called it
Yeah.
Y corner, so I just called it Y corner. But
Is it actually
as I've,
Mackey? I thought it was McKee or something like that. I
oh,
think I know
maybe,
who you're talking
maybe it is.
about. Okay, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. Hopefully, I didn't. I went on his show once when
Oh,
I
really?
first got going here.
You
Hopefully, I
call him
didn't
the
call
wrong
him the
name the
wrong
whole
name.
time?
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Cool. That's awesome, dude. I didn't realize that was a thing. So yeah, man. So I just love it, man. I think it's so smart. And real quick, I'll show the mobile or the actual app. So you you have this coach's
Yep.
website app,
Yeah.
and then there is just like if you guys are on my app, there's a separate tool that you log into, and I'm going to do that real quick just to show
Yeah.
one thing
So a couple
that
things
you
on
log
this
into.
is like it I started out by working on like something for a tablet and it was fine, but it was kind of clunky and like talking to other coaches, they were like, I never just sit there and want to draw plays on my phone. Like if I want to do it, I want it to be, like I'm focused in, I'm looking at film over here, or I'm not just sitting on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And and if you want to take it one step further than just the diagrams we were showing, just like in Go Army, right? You can put these guys in motion and you have different camera angles that they can watch that of, whatever you want to do. And so really the kids and coaches and a lot of times in our world of youth coaches, I know you did high school, but a lot of my audience is youth
Youth
and middle
coaches. Yeah.
school. Um, they've never run air raid. They've never seen concepts. They've
Right.
never visualized it. So you can actually let them get in here, visualize it. The kids can obviously visualize it, and you can teach off of this, right? Like this snag, getting behind this linebacker is such a key point for me that I say every day in practice. And in a 2D diagram where I'm just like pointing at a paper, or even worse, telling them to go home and study.
Yeah, sure.
This is
Yeah.
like, hey, here is exactly what you should be doing, and pay attention if he's behind the linebacker or not, and pay attention to the angles. And so, I don't know. I sound like a fangirl, but I really do love what you built here, Coach. And
There's
I
one
think,
other thing, if you go back to the website, that you might be, I mean, anybody would find it useful, but there is.
I wanted to ask you one thing, Coach.
Oh yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead.
put these? Can I video this and put it in the website before I go back there, or is that
You know
is
what?
it?
You're on the Mac version, and I can't see right up in your top left. The answer is yes.
Oh, it says
Uh,
start recording. That's
yeah,
okay.
so that's been tested more within the website action. Yeah, so you get sometimes this choppy view a little bit on the Mac, and that has to do with screen resolution. But if you go to stop recording
Yep.
and then hit that,
Okay.
then you should get a notification that it's doing something. But I don't see
Cool.
anything yet.
I'm gonna pop back to the web app piece. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's saying something on there. So yeah, it's working.
Yeah,
It's
so it
working.
might be loading. And then also one thing that's worth knowing is when you save or upload stuff, it actually saves a version directly on your computer. So that's also kind of nice. The one thing I
Sweet.
was gonna point at in the top right, that kind of forward arrow,
Hmm.
right there. So when you take that, you can share just the like a short code, and that becomes public. So if you wanted to say to a player or whatever, if they don't have a login but you want to see it right away, you can share that with them. It'll bring up this
Oh, look at
page.
that.
So that's
Yeah.
also
I mean,
convenient if
just
you're just
imagine.
talking to another coach.
Here it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and here's the video. So I mean, just imagine, coaches, like this is not Go Army Edge type of. This is much better. Like this, you can just send somebody a link, and they can log into the concept that we're running today. So let's just imagine camp, which we're all talking about, install. And this is what you send them, this link. Tomorrow we're going to install early Y corner. Not only do you see the 3D modeling play out, but you could also watch clips of last year's team doing it. And maybe there's a couple kids that are still on the team, and they can see all these different versions of exactly what we're going to learn tomorrow, right? And even have
Right.
the 2D version. So, man, I just love it, Coach. It's
I mean, really, and I think I mentioned it a little bit. The problem I had with Go Army wasn't the diagramming or the 3D portion. It was just that anybody I talked to said we have to take the pictures, we put them in PowerPoint, or we take the video, we upload it to our huddle stuff. And I was just like, none of this is working great for me. So if you hate it or don't love it, and you're the one using it all the time, then but I think that probably covers a lot of the application on my side. I think you wanted to talk more about the stuff you're doing, which I am also similarly a fan. But in terms of my time, I just spend stuff building new things. But I liked a lot of what you've built in. Oh, so it did upload, yeah. So if you
yeah,
make the screen resolution when you run that a little bit smaller, it'll come out clean. It won't have the choppiness. So
yeah. Okay.
that's a Mac thing because the or a 4K monitor thing that just it's
Yeah.
got a
It's
little bit of a
Mac.
choppy difference.
Their Macs are, just from knowing what I've known from watching the developers build my thing. The Mac is always just a little different. But yeah, most people have PCs at this point. So like I was saying, Coach, it's like you can send this link easily to a kid and say, "We're installing this tomorrow. Check it out. Play the 3D model of it. Then go watch the videos," and they really have an idea. And they're not sitting there trying to study like, "Hey, I have to step 3 steps and then take a left and slant and get behind." They're literally watching it, and then they're going to go watch some film of it that you've uploaded. Then they're going to go, see the 2D grind. Like, it's just all there for them, and it's such a better experience that they won't get bored of. And then
Are
on top
you
of
real
that,
quickly? Are you still on your concept? Oh, you went into a public one. Are
I went
you?
into just the shared. So
Yeah, the
like you
shared
said,
one.
to share
So
links with
yeah, that's
somebody.
now a public link you can share with anybody. If you're on your account, you
I'll go
brought up
back
something
home.
that came to mind because a lot of coaches, I'm not like a detail oriented coach. So let's see the web. If you go down, there's add assignments there,
Yeah.
and then you can stick in the position and the assignment info, and that's something some coaches really love that I could care less about. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, until we thought up this interactive playbook, I didn't even use playbooks, to be honest. I did it for
I really
myself.
just like film stuff a
But
little
it's
bit.
just like a waste, you know. It
Yeah,
honestly, it's yeah. I mean, I found I used to try to do it, and I've just found that there was no interaction with it. There was no engagement. The kids would do it when you yell at them the first 2 days of camp,
right.
and then
You print
you can
something
actually
off,
see on
they lose
Huddle.
it, so on. Yeah,
Yeah, and you can see on Huddle that it's exactly that. So that's why I thought, man, I have to find a better way to test and more importantly make sure that my quarterbacks really understand. And so just so you guys know, I went to Just Play for a little while because they had these quizzes that you could put a video or a picture up and then type in and create quizzes around it. And you have the same thing here where you can
yeah,
literally
yeah.
quiz them like a typical quiz where you can put media here and then
Right.
give them questions and you can see if they have the answers. And I think that's amazing too. Again, uh,
One thing
Just
that, in
Play.
my opinion, was a little bit better than just the. So if you click on Add Question, I think you'll be able to see it on the right.
Mhm.
Um, so let's see, question type. Yeah, pull that drop down. So you can just put in
Mm,
coach explanation. So here's a card. Here's just information. You don't have to answer a question or anything. You just
nice, nice.
get new information. I think that one's really helpful because a lot of times I don't want to ask, like, I'm not trying to grade a kid. I just want him to see, here's the film clip. Here's what I want you to see. So,
Yeah, get behind like the coaching point, right? Get
yep,
behind
yep,
the outside linebacker. Like you have to do that. Like exactly right.
yeah,
And so yeah, dude. Like I said, like Just Play is good. I actually like their drawing tool better than Huddle, and they have these quizzes, right? So that's what's great about them. And Huddle is great because you can do video and watch game film and tag players and if you have the time, take the stat. Either you take 2 hours to do the data stats after the game, and I used to do that all day, or you pay someone $40 a pop every stinking game, which I've talked to coaches and they're like, that's insane. So like that's cool about, but there's nowhere that has everything. And I think you're the closest thing, dude. And I commend you on that.
thanks.
And last thing I'll show, and maybe next time we can go a little bit deeper. I want to show
There's too
more
much to get into all of it.
of
Like,
the
even when I try
application.
to cut it down, it's still like a 20-minute to go through everything. But yeah, go
Yeah.
for it.
The last thing I'll show is just because I have not seen anyone do this before is the depth charts. And I just think it's so
Oh,
cool.
yeah, that one's fun. Yeah,
And you can just literally drag and drop players in and, rotate them around and, make sure that, as a coach,
yeah,
we used to sit around, have a beer, which, I'll still sit around and have a beer with my coaches, but, literally draw out players' names on a table and
right.
kind of do the depth chart like that to make sure
Yeah.
we all agree on what's going on.
If
And
you run into
it's
people who are using this more, there's been a lot more I've wanted to do the defense and special teams. It's just been no one said, "Hey, I really want to be able to do special teams with this thing." There is a public version of this too, where you can just go to it. You don't even have to sign up. You can just put
oh,
in.
really?
It just has player numbers, so you can do 25, 33 over here. Um,
Very cool.
I can find the link sometime.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll go dive deeper into that
Yeah, some
tomorrow
other
or
day.
next week.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, man, we'll like I said, we'll go. I want to go into the other app where you're actually drawing, and I'll show you guys how we draw in it. It's super intuitive and easy to do it. So I think what you've built is the most complete playbook for coaches of coaches' mind. I know Huddle was started by some coaches in Nebraska many years ago, but I don't know. I don't think Go Army was football minded. I think it's just
they weren't. Like I had a little bit of information on their dev team, but they were good. Like, it's kind of one of those things where as like a developer, you're like, yeah, these guys are doing good stuff. And then as a
yeah.
coach, you're like, as a coach, this isn't how I think about it. But you've taken a lot of feedback. You've done a lot of good things. I don't know if they're still doing a lot of development for it, but they did a lot that is really good. So
Yeah, I mean, I think they're getting what they want, right? They're getting
yeah,
leads for for the military, and they've made a nice tool.
yeah,
And yeah, like you said, I don't think they're
yeah,
going to invest much more money. I haven't seen anyone even talking about it lately. But and so, Coach, you have your way of testing, and then that's where I think where I kind of see my platform coming in because for
yeah,
me, my mind was like, okay,
yeah.
how do I make sure that these kids can actually do it? And sometimes
Right.
with two-dimensional testing,
How do you show your
it's like,
stuff when you're in like a conference? Like, because I know your stuff is all an Android iPhone app, right? Are you able to pull
yeah, I
those
usually
up?
have
You
screenshots
got
like
like
this kind of
videos?
taken
Yeah,
out. And so for
nice.
me, it's like, okay, now I want
This
them
is
to,
where you're gonna have to stop me from talking about technical things, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. But yeah,
yeah.
go
And so
ahead.
we're actually identifying the people that we're supposed to be looking at. The kids are identifying the cornerback in our system. They're reading the corner. If he doesn't really move, we're going to throw the deep shot. If he does bail out or if he's way back before the
Yeah,
snap, we're going to look down here at the snag, right?
right.
And it's not supposed to be like super perfect, but it's supposed to be okay. Who do I look at, and who do I read to throw the ball to? And we're
Yeah,
quantifying if the kid knows those things. And to me, like that's how I know as a coach that he's not
yeah.
bullshitting me. I won't get into a game. He's going to be like, I have no idea what's going on because that actually happened to me. I had this
That happened to me.
top 10.
Oh, that's
Mm,
happened to everyone.
yeah,
A
like
player
all
who
the way
goes
through
in and has
camp, I'm
no
like,
idea what they're
he's
doing. Okay,
saying the
sure.
right answers, but like maybe I'm, unconsciously leading him to the right answers when I'm asking him. I guess I
Right,
was because we
right.
got into the first game and I'm like, he doesn't know the reads. Holy crap, what am I doing here?
Yeah,
So anyway, so yeah, so for me, like I was more focused on post snap. How do we make sure these kids know it, and how
mhm,
do I make sure that I know that he knows it? More importantly, right?
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and
if you
so yeah,
open up
that's where
yours, there's a couple of things that I really like that you do that I want to kind of add in. If you go back to your little video, there is
yeah,
what one piece that's kind of hard to do is to simulate just any sort of pass looking mostly good. So like the way the ball moves through the air, it sounds like a simple thing, but it is kind of an elusive um, from a technical standpoint. So I really like I've looked at that. And I've been like, oh, nice. That's how they did it. How he has it in there, and there's some pieces of that. I also find it interesting because like I've thought about a lot of the times. I did you play quarterback?
no, I was a running back. I was a
Okay.
running back.
So I played quarterback for like 7 plays in high school. So the viewpoint, and I'm also not very tall. So like if I'm out on the field, on 7-on-7, it's super easy. But to be able to see, with linemen around there, and so it was interesting because when I've talked to other people, they're like, "Yeah, this is kind of how it feels." Like, because to me, like if I open it up in my application, I do a quarterback view. You're so close to the lineman that you can't really see. So I would just say overall the way that this looks and acts from the quarterback camera and the physics of the ball movement I think is pretty well done. So that's nice to see because I was like I don't know if I can do this well or simply
Yeah,
right like I was playing around with these weird um like video game clones of like you wouldn't play any of these games, but like God of War actions and Zelda sort of thing. But it was good to see it and be like, I'm overcomplicating this. This looks just as good. So
yeah. No, and that's the cool thing about this platform, right? They use it for adventure games. They anything 3D modeling. It's really cool.
well, honestly, you'd be surprised to find anybody who hasn't used a Unity platform game. It's something like
Huh.
90% of mobile games are on Unity,
Wow,
at least
wow.
3 years ago. But what's the difference now?
Um,
Maybe it's 70%, but whatever.
Yeah, they got a lion's share of it. I know there's another competitor out there that's doing well, but yeah, I mean, dude, for me, it's like, hey, we chose it because once you make it, it's on my mobile, it's on my tablet, and it's
Right.
on my
It's got a lot of
computer. And coach,
flexibility that way. Yeah.
exactly. So, all right, cool. That's enough of our interactive playbook. Yeah, I don't want to waste too much time on it. I just think it's cool what you created. It's like, for me, it kind of pairs well with what I did and what you did, and coaches can kind of get the best of both worlds: testing post snap, and then everything team management and 3D modeling pre snap, taking kind of Go Army and putting it on steroids times 10.
Right.
So just wanted to kind of show my audience your app if they hadn't seen
Yeah.
it, and if they did, then kind of show it again.
So
Um,
one of the questions I had so I'm pretty comfortable, familiar with a lot of concept stuff where you would look at different, oh, okay, this is part of air raid, or this is part of, like a West Coast offense, or this is more of a modern style, or this is what we look at with some package plays that are more passing. So the question that I've had in looking at a lot of this what do you call it, like wing air raid,
oh, the wing raid, yeah, let's talk wing
wing
raid. Yeah,
raid.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think one place that I see it is like in trips, you're looking at like two offset kind of players, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, just your base formation there is kind of like is is kind of a right with a wing is maybe
Yep.
how, or if you're coming from like a doubles trips world, it's just doubles with like strong tight.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay, so then which ones do you use the most, right? Because I'll talk with coaches and they're like, yeah, we've got all these things and here's our alignments, and then it's like you look at their film and they use 7 of them, sort of thing.
The
They're
formation
like, we've
wise,
got 80 that we look at and use a lot
you're talking in terms of formations.
in terms of formations.
Yeah. And so let me just pop out of there wing raid, because I actually don't run a ring. I don't run a wing raid. That's one of the things that we're going to try to do is get the coaches that I kind of built the wing raid system around um, on here so they can talk about it. But really, my base formations really are this open set, like 2x2, like you were saying,
Okay.
and then I live out of this 3x1 set.
Yeah, so
Right.
this is what I was seeing. This early one.
Yeah. So this is where I live and I
So
eat
why
out
do
of
you
this.
prefer this to just like a normal trips?
I really do
Or
prefer it.
even just the wing that you were showing earlier.
At the youth level especially, and let me get some defenders there. We all of our plays, and I'm going to show you guys, and these are the same plays we put in the wing raid. So this is a great introduction. Thanks, Coach. These 3 core plays that we run for both offenses, all are reading the same piece of grass, right? And
Right.
we live in 3x1 because we're in youth. We're always on a
I see what
hash,
you're saying. Okay.
and so the quarterback is always looking basically right through these 2 guys to this deep third, and they start the
Right.
first read is, "Can I throw in this deep third?"
Sure.
And so he has a clear view, and if at the snap of the ball he can tell that this deep third is covered, like if they're in cover 3, then
Yeah.
his eyes just need to come straight down to this overhang defender, this 53, and basically he's just making him wrong. He's choosing whoever that guy doesn't cover, or whatever grass, the flats or the hook to curl, wherever he's
Right.
not going. So to me, it's like it's easy for the quarterback to see who he's choosing. If they're spread out, that linebacker tends to kind of sit in between them and kind of just play like a kind of a weird zone.
Yeah.
From what I've kind of seen, this
Right.
way it's like he's choosing. Like
Yeah.
he has to choose,
No, I mean
and
that makes sense a lot. Like when our stick that I've run most of my career, right there, your bottom one is again out of more of a trip, so it's a little spread out, but you can see in that one how it kind of puts more pressure on that first kind of apex or joker
yep.
or whatever you want to call that nickel linebacker. One question I have here is, do you do you just have them look at space? Are you looking to say who's rotating over to this deep spot?
Yeah, that's a great
I
dude.
guess
And
what's the question with a younger kid? Because I know what I would say to like a freshman kid. I have a good understanding of like what I'd say to the better JV kids, or and then the conversation I might have with our like varsity offensive coaches or quarterback coaches, or
yeah,
even just people I run across. But I guess the first portion there, like where's the key? Usually you don't want to say, well, look at this space, but that's not the worst answer, especially with younger players.
yeah, and so I've really done a deep dive, and honestly, I've got it from high school coaches, and I've stopped. I used to have these kids have like, and we built this into my app. There's 5 of the most common pre-snap questions that coaches ask their quarterbacks to think
Right,
about,
right. I've
and
seen that.
coaches can
Yeah,
have all 5 on their screen. I used to do that, and I used to have them how many safeties, what coverage is it, Are they rolling to something? And I realized now that I was just confusing the kid, and I've now boiled it down
Yeah.
to, is your first read open by alignment? Because this is what the high school,
Okay.
like some of the best high school air raid
By
coaches
alignment.
have taught me. They don't care about all that other shit. And if you actually studied Mike Leach and Hal Mummy, they actually don't even care what coverage it is. And I love that attitude. But that made me nervous as a coach. I'm like, they have to know because it's going to help them. But in
Yeah.
the end, it's like, is your first read open by alignment? And what that means is, at the snap,
Is there
right
anybody
before
in
the
that
snap of the
space?
ball, is there anyone there? Now, as he snaps the ball, he's going to actually look at this corner. And if he bails out fast, okay, that's your answer. I'm going to come down here
Right.
and
Now
try
we're
to
looking
make
over
somebody
here.
wrong.
Yeah.
But and being able to answer that question just right after post snap is going to tell him everything he needs to know. He doesn't really need to know anything else. I mean, if you think about it, he's just going to
Right.
go through his read.
By
He's
alignment
going to,
there. Yep.
yeah, by alignment. He's way back. It's
Yeah.
cover three. Like, we don't care if
I
he
don't know
knows
who
it's
it
cover.
is. I think Dub Maddox would, look at that diagram and say this is us saying it's capped right there.
Yeah,
I think is
exactly.
the phrase he uses.
Yeah, the R4 stuff, man. If I was
Yeah.
a high school coach, I definitely would subscribe to that because
Yeah.
I think it's
No, I
smart.
think
It's a
that capped
universal language.
phrasing is really useful, at least with the kids I've coached.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, so I don't ask them to tell me anything except this. If they can decode this and we've built this into our app,
Hmm.
so the kids can just rep it out mentally. Okay, he's back there. So pre-snap, I'm like, okay, he's already where I'm trying to throw it, and he's probably going to back up. So if he does back up after the snap, okay, I'm coming down and attacking this overhang apex, like you said,
Hmm.
making him wrong. And it's just that simple. And that's all we want these kids thinking about. Quick, okay, now I'm just going to go throw it. And to answer your question, we are asking him to just kind of see color, right? If this guy's color, if he's flying
Right.
out to the flats, then he
Right. That's a
knows
much
that,
easier read once you say, okay, we're not looking at that. We're gonna
yeah.
by alignment,
I
we don't
mean,
think it's there. So
exactly. And we do have them go through their progressions. I mean, I do want him to look at it in a certain progression.
hmm.
Um, but really, with the progression, we're really just seeing what this guy's doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
it really is based on where this guy's going. But I do want him to look at it in a certain order, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But it all kind of works together, honestly. But that's a great question. And I think that's, for me, is like trying to simplify everything. And that's really where I wanted to take this conversation, because one thing that I get nervous about with two offenses, and I grew up with wing T. I ran wing T, and I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to play D1 football because of the wing T playing running back in it. But combining offenses is a little scary because, especially with air raid, I've always preached, and I do believe this. You can't. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the opening slide. You can't really pretend to be a throwing team. Okay, if you're going to be a throwing team, you need to be a throwing team. And the running teams that I've been on, wing T, and when I got back to coaching, my first stint was with, if everyone knows who De La Salle is, they're a pretty well known high school team out
Oh
here in
yeah.
Northern
I
California.
didn't know my cousins went there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like the entire coaching staff was just old retired De La Salle coaches, and they just ran the veer, and they've had like this. Our youth
Yeah.
program has won titles after title before and after I got there. And so I came in wanting to modernize and introduce air raid, but
So
my
that's where
point
they kind of
is,
got combined
exactly. So my
for you.
point is like they
Okay.
had like 20 run plays, right? And I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
holy crap, what is
Yeah.
the point of this? And so I literally run one one true run play in my offense. GT counter, everyone knows that. I have a
Mhm.
draw that if I'm playing a four man front, I'll run. We have jet sweep, but really I'm just running. So I worry that coaches that are going to run wing T or that are going to run wing raid, and that's really what I want to focus today before we get Tim Sullivan, who's a coach that we've kind of created or helped kind of create the wing raid with this year, so he can run it. And some other coaches are now interested.
Mhm.
Um, I want to get them on because I want their perspective on it. I don't actually
Right.
run this, but I wanted to help. But I just want to make it clear, like, I don't think you can be effective and kind of be halfway in on each. So what I would say to you guys that are going to run this is pick three of your best run plays. And I'm going to show you guys our install program, our for camp, where we rep out the same passing plays on the same days and repeat it for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
We have very few passing plays. If you look, we have 4 passing concepts. Now, everyone, I don't care if you're a running team or not, should have a screen package, quick screen package in their offense, and 3 running plays. Okay, and
Which
if
you
you
left
have
off
more
here.
than
There's no
yeah, I want them. I don't
who
even
needs a
know
running
the
play on
running.
the first slide.
Well, yeah, what choose
No,
whatever you
I
want.
get what you're saying. Yeah, you're
Uh,
saying 1 or 2.
on mine, I have like I said, GT counter, jet, and
Yeah.
but so I would just say don't get sucked into practicing. And I hate to say it for some of you running coaches, but I have to say it. If you're going to practice running as much or more than passing, then you probably shouldn't pass that much during the season because everyone's like so scared to pass, and they
Yeah.
have this funny phrase. There's only 3 things that happen when you pass, and 3 of them are bad, or
Yeah.
whatever the hell they say.
I think one thing
So
about that too, what you're saying there is not always true of certain high schools, right? Like I've always been at a high school that's large enough that we just break off if we want to do running stuff, right? Like we can have a
yeah,
whole separate group of defense and offense and just go do running stuff and then swap them to do um, to do passing. But especially when you're working with youth, right? Like you may not even be able to field both sides of the ball during a
yeah,
practice most days.
totally.
So that makes a big difference. And the other thing I
Yep.
wanted to touch on real quickly, and this is, I think, valuable in a way that not always coaches realize, but when you're looking at paring down your running, there's a lot of schemes that teams will have, and there's not always the perfect personnel fit and maybe speed or timing fit within those. One thing I've found maybe over the last 5 years or so is the team I was with, our playbook had maybe like 5, 7 gap schemes. But when it came down to it, every year we were looking at these 2 work, the others don't. But we could get that idea by the spring, right? Like we had a kid one year, a really athletic quarterback, really fast. He could not figure out how to be patient on counter, right? And so it was like, all right, we're just going to run power and kick. Those are the only ones we need because every other counter, he's trying to bounce it outside because he's just faster than everybody over there. I mean, even when we told him like slow down and go behind this guy, it just didn't make sense. So
Right.
I think for a lot of teams, when they start to say, well, I don't want to pare down all these things, it's really about saying, okay, we're in camp right now. We can run, at least it's different. Everybody's rules are different, but we can figure out what timing works really well and then I really think if you have a gap scheme that works well, you might only be looking at 2 that you need. Now, if you're a
Yeah.
wing T team, if you're just purely a wing T team, then that information probably doesn't apply to you. But definitely for a lot of spread teams, and sounds like for the work you're doing with the wing raid group.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly it. And I just want to just emphasize that it is all about, for air raid coaches, there's a couple things that we hold dear, right? Just as many formations as you want, and I'm going to show you some of those that we have for the wing raid, and as few plays. And really, it's all about just out executing your opponent. It really is. And if you can they have a week or 3 days to get ready for you, right? And you have all year to just rep the piss out of your 10
Right.
plays, and I'll challenge you to do it under 5 play or under 10 to 12 plays. And if you can do that, then you're in good shape. And what the heck do you need more than 3 run plays? I mean, honestly. And so these formations, I've kind of based it off 2 things. Like I said, Tim Sullivan and a couple guys off of the um, youth football online. I've done some stuff with Jeff over there, and we always get such great feedback from our Instagram lives, and we're going to probably do some more stuff. Um, and they started throwing out these wing T formations, and then the Kenny Simpson group. Kenny and I kind of work together. So here's like common formations for wing T, right? Red and blue. You guys will probably recognize that. And so one thing I'll say with this air raid system that I've been trying to get coaches to run at the youth level is all I'm saying is if you can give me 3 receivers on any side, right, and I'm including the running back,
Mhm.
If you can give me 3 receivers on any side of the field at the snap of the ball, and maybe it's from motion, maybe it's set up, 2 this is I would consider this 2 by 2, or
Right.
maybe it's 3 by 1, right? This is a formation that Tim runs. This is another one. This is 3 by 1 to me as well, and this is actually 4 by 1,
That last
honestly.
one that you had, I think it was called Red Diesel there, that kinda trio look. I really, really like that at, high school levels is because not a lot of teams run it. A lot of teams run this 3 by 1 set, but they're not used to having that other guy right there be tight, and
Yeah,
they'll have alignments for their, that six-man front, but it changes it now when they're used to knocking everybody over and running
yeah,
like quarter halves on all of those things. I think it's a really valuable thing um, in in both the run game and the passing. And then if you switch the running back there, if you put him on the opposite side, now you've got like a four releases, which depending your stuff is a lot of three-man read kind of stuff, so it may not work there, but for a lot of
yeah,
teams, a lot, especially screens, can be really effective because they're fast with numbers.
for sure. I mean, I would love this formation. I could throw a little
Yeah. No, I
quick
love that.
screen to the running back,
Yep.
or dude, I could run counter back the other way. I
Yep.
guarantee I'll have the numbers on this backside with this tight
Yeah.
end. Like I never have a tight end. This gives me my advantage right here, having a
Yeah.
actual hand in the dirt tight end on
I
the
think one
backside of
other
trio.
thing that gets missed sometimes in this particular one is your when you run like a flash fake, it's coming across in a kind
Mhm.
of, I think the timing, the look looks a little bit better, is a little bit harder and slows down a lot more, I think, if you have kind of a cover one or you have three guys in the box like a 4-3 or whatever it might be depending on the team. It'll hold guys back a little bit more before they get out into the pass.
Totally. Yeah. And so I'm all for it, guys. If you can give this air raid passing game 3 receivers, and here's they got the 2 back set at a shotgun. We have that in air raid. If you can give me 3 receivers at the snap of the ball, we can run this air raid system. And I've drawn it up, and it's actually programmed. You can buy this in my app, already set up for the kids to read it. And we're still identifying, just like we talked about a second ago with the air raid. Our first read is this first read open by alignment, and we're looking at the cornerback
Right.
pre-snap. So everything still applies, right? It's now we don't have the pre-snap gifts that I would have in the air raid because we're not spread out back here. But who cares? So we don't have gifts. It's not a big deal. We're still going to run our offense. The quarterback still for the core plays, whether it's stick that you see here,
Mhm.
um, or fade out that you see here. It's still reading the same guy, deep third to the apex, out of the same formation. Or if it's corner, which is if you haven't found out yet by this one conversation, it's my favorite thinking play.
There's a lot in there if
Same,
you go back to your little videos there, and you sent me some, and I was like, man, he runs corner a lot, runs it well,
yeah,
or snag, whatever
absolutely.
you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. But dude, so it like absolutely yes, we can run wing raid if you stay disciplined, if you stay true to the philosophy of as few plays as possible. And I'm going to show you guys again before we go tonight our 3-day install so you can make it work for you guys and just out execute somebody with three running plays,
Right.
5 passing plays, and some quick screens. Guys, you don't need more than that, especially if you're not playing varsity football at the high school level, right?
I will
And
say this: one of the best, probably the best offensive coordinator I've known at varsity and high school at a pretty high level would say if you have more than 30 plays on a call sheet going into a game, then you're probably doing it wrong. Like you're not going to get to all of them. You're going to confuse everybody out there. You're not going to have the way to find them quickly. Now that being said, the other person that I worked with a lot had like 110 on his call sheet, and it
yeah,
wasn't always the worst
dude,
thing either. But I was really afraid to call the ones that like, oh, we haven't practiced this enough, but it's on there. So
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
here we
and
go.
yeah,
3 day
I
and
would
week
absolutely,
week
I would
3 week
absolutely,
3 days. What am I looking at?
yeah. So here's our install plan, and this is a way where you can run wing raid and really just get after it, but stay disciplined. Okay, so on day one, and for us, it's 3 weeks of camp, and we do offense 3 of those days, 5 days a week, right? We have 3 weeks of 5 days of camp. We have three offensive days: Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on the first week, we focus on one run play, on one drop back play, and one screen. And that's all we work our practice around. Those three concepts out of our 2-by-2 formation. Now, the next Monday is the same exact concepts, right?
At a different
Except
point.
now we're layering in more formations. And the third week on Monday is the same exact concepts, but we're layering in even more formations, right? And so as you can see, like here's my three run games. They're going to get three shots through camp to learn it and rep the piss out of it. Uh, all my passing plays are on there. All my screen plays are all going to get plenty of reps during camp. Now, when you start adding more run plays, now you're watering it down, and you're kind of mixing and matching and trying to piece it together, and you're losing time. I think the key to being a good coaches ask me all the time, how are you guys so successful? I'm like, I'm not a great coach. I just am organized enough where I have it written down in a way where I stay organized, and I do have somebody kind of blowing the whistle when it's time to move on to the next period, right?
Yeah.
And we break it down, and we're very systematic about it, because if you can use your time wisely and you have a systematic way to run through each of these concepts on every single day and every single time, guys, it's about repetition and losing any confusion from the kids. And if you can do that, you're gonna have success, guys. You don't have to be um, you know, uh, Mike Leach to run air raid. It's about organization and execution. Period. 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 And this is a way to do that. And if you can kind of ditch the I have 12 run plays, but I still want to pass the ball great this year. It's just you have to
tough.
go
Yeah.
all in with the practice plan. And if you're going to throw, then give it the right amount of time. And we have 3 run plays in air raiding. You can do both, but you have to practice passing.
How do you guys cover like pass protection?
Yeah, I mean, just
Or
what
you
you
just
were
say
saying
like,
earlier.
hey guys, don't let the quarterback get sacked.
No,
That's
what
the
you said
best pass
earlier.
protection actually, is just to coach that.
This O line, if you notice,
Uh-huh.
the whole team is together all practice, but the O line is
Right.
basically practicing by themselves the entire practice.
Uh-huh.
And in youth, it's typically 5-man fronts, and it really is just like, don't let your guy get past you.
Right.
And so
Like a lot
we
of
have
man scheme
stolen.
stuff.
And again, I've gotten all this from high school. We actually have a plan that I hand every O line coach I ever have, and he's going through these
Okay.
pass pro drills all practice. And I just showed you, they are on their own most of practice until we get to the end where it's team. But they are during warmups and indeed, it's mostly pass pro. Inside run, obviously, that's just between the tackles, and we're just running our run plays. But inside pass, it is a pass pro drill where there's O line, D line, maybe sometimes there's a quarterback back there, and they're rushing and pass pro. So like literally out of these 12 periods, they're pass pro, basically, practicing their inside hands and opposite pressure and set and punch, and just repping the piss out of it all day, every day. Um,
So
you know,
the system and template stuff do you have? Are there places in there where you say, okay, you're covering defense with this group, or it happens at this other time, or right? Like, does
yep.
that make sense?
Yeah. So we have it all broken down for the coaches to kind of run through it. So this is like the template of like what periods that we're calling it. But yeah, when we get into actual
Okay.
practice, we are actually, just like I said, this matches the install plan. So this day we're only working on fade out and stick, right? Verts and Larry and Roger, right? So it depends on the situation, but we do break it down piece by piece for this O line, right? So
Right.
these two periods, they're just rep and counter. This period is just screen period. So we try to be as prescriptive as possible,
Yeah.
for sure.
So in team time, like, you have defensive plays, right? Like, when are those being installed?
Yeah, so we do it, and this is a great question for you, Coach, because I know you're at the high school level for the most part. We like to just have offensive days and defensive days
Yeah.
completely separate, right?
Okay.
Now, obviously, the kids that aren't on starting offense or even in the first two strings are playing defense, the scout D, and those defensive coaches are over there, teaching those kids and repping it out, right? But we tend to kind of go all offense or all defense. These are all offensive templates.
Right.
I'm
Right.
more of an
These are
offensive
offensive
teacher and
days,
coach.
sort of thing. Yeah. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, the defense. I let the DC kind of do his own thing. But we use the same template. He fills it in for himself, and I let
Right.
them kind of
Got it.
just run those days, and I'll just go coach a position or something. But yeah, that's really what I wanted to go over today with Wing Raid. I just want to introduce the idea of it, show you that it does align. There's a lot of synergy between Wing Raid and Air Raid if you can just stay disciplined and not overdo it with the amount of runs and just stress that if you're going to pass, you need to set practice up so you're passing in practice. And then, I'm really trying to get Tim and Jeff, because they do run a version of Wing Raid, to come
Yeah.
on and
Get
talk
some
about it
people
from
who
their
do this
perspective.
in practice.
Yeah, and then there's a coach in high school that like literally started a website called Wing Raid. I don't think it's. I'm not sure how much he's using it
Okay.
anymore, but he actually, like, at a very high level, called it Wing Raid and was starting to like do some shows about it. So I'm trying to get
Okay.
him on too. But
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
that's about it on the Wing Raid stuff for this week. Just wanted to kind of do an intro. Anything else on your mind, Coach, while we're hanging out?
No, man, I think we've talked a while. Obviously, this is a problem I have, and I think every coach has. Is like you start talking about a little bit of technology and football, and then pretty soon you're thinking about it all night and willing to talk about it for another 3 hours. So, um,
Exactly.
yeah. But
Yeah.
here's a good stopping point for everybody: is like I'm gonna go hang out with my family now.
Yeah, exactly,
So
exactly. So it's Friday night, or we're recording this Friday night for the Sunday show. Obviously, I didn't
any
want to
day
take
as a
your.
coach that works. I'm gonna go hang out with my family now. Once you're about like 90 minutes in, you're too far.
Yeah, well, I think an hour is perfect. So thanks for hanging out, Coach. It was
Yeah.
great to talk to you, and I'm glad we got to show everyone your platform for the folks that hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully you come on next week with
With
me
different
or
platforms.
whenever you can in the future
Yeah,
and just talk ball.
I think we will. All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right,
Talk to you
buddy.
later.
All right, thanks a lot, man. We'll talk soon. And thank you guys for tuning in. Obviously, as always, like and subscribe down here on the YouTube channel. Always want to try to get more coaches that are trying to learn how to pass the ball, this information. So share this with any coaches that are thinking about Wing Raid or have any interest in throwing the ball a little bit more. And we'll see everyone on the next one. Appreciate it.